Flosstube. It's Arlene here. It is Thursday, March 20th, 2025. It is the first day of spring. When I was out for a walk this morning, I saw daffodils, daffodils popping up and opened for the first time. And for me, that means spring is just about here. So wherever you are in the world, I hope, well, I guess unless you're in Australia or somewhere that the seasons are reversed, where you might be seeing the beginning of your fall. Well, welcome. I am so pleased if you have come back to see me again, and so pleased if you are new and have somehow found me through the way YouTube shares things. I am here to talk mostly, well, not mostly. This is my Nashville recap video. Let's put it that way. Especially if you're new here, I'm a designer. I design under the name Works by ABC, and as I always like to tell people, it's because my initials are ABC. And I just returned from the Nashville needlework market. You know, it's been on my list. So I flew to Nashville, started on a Thursday 2 weeks ago. And I can't give you a good reason why it's taken me as long as it has to do this video. I was back on that Monday, but here I am. It's been on the to-do list. I had this moment. I'm going to do this, have everything ready to go. I actually have quite a mess in my loft area here, and I was getting ready to devote some time to putting things away and reorganize. I'm like, you know what? Since, as those who make videos know, sometimes you make a mess when you're doing a video. It's like, let me get this done today, and then I can have that much more to put away and reorganize. So let me start talking about Nashville. The teacher inside of me always goes under the assumption that some people, especially if you are new to finding Flosstube at all, have no idea what I'm talking about when I say Nashville. And I know plenty of stitchers out there do, but if you don't, Nashville is the Nashville Needlework Market. It is the largest in-person wholesale market of the year. It takes place, well, it's not actually Nashville. It's in Franklin, Tennessee, which is like 20 minutes south of the city, in Embassy Suites. All the exhibitors, which are predominantly designers, but also thread companies and fabric companies and assorted stitching-related things, gather at Embassy Suites, where we don't set up like our stuff in a ballroom or anything. Your suite is your space. So Embassy Suites has like a living room, and then in the back is a bedroom. So the living rooms are transformed to our stores. There were 140 exhibitors. Don't quote me on that exact number. And maybe that's more than it. I don't have the number clear, but I do know because I got the email that there were, now I'm not going to remember the exact number, but it's something like 249 or pretty close to 250 stores that were registered to come. And so it's a wholesale market, so the general stitching public doesn't go to purchase things. It is the opportunity for stores to go, and it's called a cash and carry market. So the idea is they walk away with the brand new stuff. They bring it back to their stores. Many of them have, Nashville nights or some woohoo, come see all the new stuff. And it is an exciting time of year for Nashville, for the cross-stitch world. Even the online stores that, don't have a physical store are still excited to be sharing all kinds of new things. And I think we all know that when you see a stitching in person, you could have the best picture in the world on an online website, on a front cover of a pattern, but when you see the model in person, we all know what a difference that makes. So I'm just trying to think. My last video was definitely my Nashville market reveals. And I just want to do a quick review of those as I'm starting to talk about Nashville. My bestseller, which was exciting on a number of levels, was 365. This is 365 different circles, so you can see they're all different. It's all cross-stitch, stitched with 365 different colors of DMC. And this was an idea that came last year. I had 324, which was stitched with 324 different colors. I was blown away, still to this day, blown away with how many people were excited and have been, are, and have finished stitching that. the line I've said over and over, I knew it had great visual appeal. I just had no idea there were that many people that wanted to stitch with as many colors as I did. But there was. And so, not knowing how another one of these would be, sometimes it's a one and done, love that, lots of threads, I'm not doing that again kind of thing. So I was very pleased when my pre-orders, this was my most popular pre-order and turned out to be my biggest seller at Nashville. And it was, just people came in and see, some of them immediately knew or made the connection to 324, which I also had there. There are some designers that just bring their new things. And this may be, this is like what I'm assuming. The ones who do that are mostly the large, well-known designers because stores know I can get all your older stuff at another time. Those of us who are smaller, who are new, where there's still stores getting to know who we are, recognizing us, I bring a number of my older things. Now, I shouldn't say older, earlier releases. I have been doing this Works by ABC thing since 2017. Wow. And some of my earlier stuff, it's sort of kind of like embarrassed a little bit. But also I can just see the growth in my designs. Everyone grows over the course of 8 years. Gosh, almost 8 years. So anyway, I do bring some of my previous designs. It is mostly ones that have been released within the last year, with a couple of exceptions of that. So store owners could walk into my room, and clearly I want to draw them to the new things, but I love it that I have other things to share, and I certainly would bring designs that are popular, like 324 still is. So as an offshoot of that, something I shared in my last video was a little project I worked on. If this is of interest to you, perhaps it's also of interest to you to acquire, it's all smushed, a thread card with 365 different colors of DMC. You get in this thread card a full yard. And just in terms of usage, this was stitched on 36 count 1/2, and I used all of 12 inches of one strand to stitch the largest of these circles. So to get a full yard, you have lots of things you could be doing with this thread, including what I'm about to show you. But just to be super clear, these thread cards were not sold at Nashville. Just simply, it's just not something that makes sense on a financial level to do as a wholesale price. You can only purchase them through my website, through my Etsy store. There will be a link below. And let me just take this moment also to say something I think I said in my last video as well. I think I've known, but I've definitely learned in the last few months. If you ever want to purchase something from Etsy and you have a direct link to either the item or the person's store, please follow that link. You'll see no cost difference on your end, but Etsy takes out less fees on the seller's end. So for example, down below here, there's going to be a link to this listing on my Etsy store. If you want to purchase these thread cards and you go through that link, I get to keep a little more money than if you were to just go to Etsy, search, 365 a year in stitches or some version of that. If you are, especially if you're new, you're just kind of curious, what else does Arlene have? If you follow the link that I've put down below that just gets you to my storefront, again, if you choose to purchase something, I get to keep a little bit more. It's no different on your end. And please know, I'm sharing this not just for my own, please, anytime, any person you have the ability to follow a link that they have put out there, do it. So thread cards are still available. Now, a whole yard, Arlene, you said we need so little of it. Well, I did this on purpose. Number one, it's kind of cool to say you have a full yard of this many colors for a lot of people, but it's also because all the colors in, I need to make a finish pile here. All the colors that I used in 324 are also used in 365, just for 41 additional ones. So you could take this thread pack, stitch 365, also stitch the original 324, and while you're at it, even also stitch 324, the sequel. So, oh, I'm getting the sun coming in. Let me see if I can get through this video without blinding myself. So you can go back and watch earlier videos. 324, sorry, 324, the sequel, which is what I'm holding up here, is not cross stitch. You can see it's all different types of stitches. Some people have referred to this as black work. Some people have said it's like counted canvas work. Some people have said, it's just a bunch of specialty stitches. You can call it whatever you want. There's a whole longer story. I have a whole video that I'll try to remember to link down below that has all the background information. But simply put, it was something I started stitching for myself last year after Nashville, knowing my general audience are cross stitchers. But I was so surprised when there was so much interest as I was like posting pictures about it, that it was like, all right, I'd be stupid if I didn't put out a pattern, because there really is interest. The pattern I put out and started selling for my Etsy store was in the fall. But I decided, and that was the only way to get it, was through my Etsy store. Now that works for a lot of people, doesn't work for others. I decided for Nashville was going to be the first time I was offering it to stores, and I'm first offering it to stores who who were able and were there at Nashville. And in a little bit of time, it'll then be available through a distributor for any store to purchase. Because this wasn't a brand new for Nashville, I mean, even the people who bring older designs, you know what your best sellers are. They're not going to be anything older. But I needed to include this because I just had no idea what the interest would be. Again, it's not a cross stitch design, and this show is predominantly a cross stitch owner's stores show. So I'm so glad I put it out there as part of my pre-order opportunity, because when I started seeing the pre-orders, I was like, whoa, there really is interest in this. And as it turned out, this was my second highest pre-order number, as well as the second highest of all the sales that when all was said and done. I love it that I have contributed to a number of people in the cross stitch community who are giving something new a try. I mean, maybe it's not new for everybody, but I do know for some people who have posted and shared like on Instagram about it, for some people it was brand new. It is a large pattern. It is 24 pages, and that's because I needed to make sure I had some pretty clear instructions when it came to everything involved in it. So I will put links down below. So again, you can purchase this from my Etsy store, both a paper copy and a PDF copy. It is now possible to get it from your local stores or your online stores, because they were able to purchase it at Nashville. So back to the threads that are still in my lap here. If you were to get this thread card, you would have more than enough thread to stitch 365, which is what I originally created it for, 324, the original, which I'm pointing because it's over there in a bag, and 324, the sequel. So for some people, this has been a great, and some people have just said, Arlene, that's just a bunch of colors. I don't know if I'm going to stitch 365, but I'm going to get it. And then boom, I have a whole bunch of DMC. Hey, if you'd like to do that, you are welcome to. And again, threads are only through my Etsy store. Everything else I'm sharing, you can purchase from stores who attended Nashville. They will be available in my Etsy store in a few weeks, and I will put dates and stuff on my on Instagram when I have that worked out, just so that you know a fair number of Nashville designs, and all of mine that were new for Nashville, I am selling as Nashville exclusives. And all that means is for the first bit of time, 4 to 6 weeks, everyone has their own sort of magic number, you can only get these through stores that attended Nashville. It's a little bit of a incentive for stores to go, because if I started selling on my Etsy store at the same time they were being offered to Nashville, to stores attending Nashville, I mean, I think you understand, like, Arlene, why should I bother? My customers can get it through you. But this way, the people who are excited about something or love the brand new things, or I can't wait, have the opportunity to buy through stores. And that's, for the stores that are spending the time and the money and the effort to go, it needs to be worth it to them. So, but again, because this was not new, it is available. Just a quick rundown of my other designs in case, I was going to show the patterns, pattern, in case you either didn't see my last video or don't remember or whatever. This is Broken Star Quilt. It is based on, what's that mark? It's based on an actual quilt that I saw at a museum exhibit, an Amish quilt, and it was stitched on 32 count charcoal gray, and it's 149 by 149. And then this is lovely lace. I have done a lot of large lace designs, and this year, from lots of feedback, I said, you know what, love the large ones, let me do something a little bit smaller. And this, is it also 149? It's something awfully close to, it's 157 by 157. And it was done on a week's fabric called garnet. Yes, garnet. And also, this was Irises in the Garden. I think I love irises as a flower, and I learned that irises are the state flower of Tennessee. So it was perfect that this debuted at Nashville this year. And this one, 147 by 212. Oh, I got the sun thing going. And stitched on French Vanilla by Grace Notes, which you can sort of see is just sort of this very subtle off-white, yellowish little bit of modeling, which I just think is perfect. But again, I know it's not showing up very well there, but I love it when I see it in person. And then, not in any particular order, but here we go. Oh, I mentioned daffodils from my morning walk. Daffodils. This is one of my repeating motif designs, so you can see, maybe you can see, there's a particular like square with a diamond inside, and it just repeats. And by changing the thread is where the image shows up. This is 65 by 95 on 32 count. I designed this specifically to fit in a standard 5 by 7 frame. Just so you know that size was part of my consideration. I know not everyone stitches on 32 count, which would also be like 16 count Ada, but just if that FYI is of interest of you to know. I had these little guys, which, these little guys, which I called Stitching in the Round. All three patterns come together. I had them on display with these little stands, which I just loved. It was a find from Amazon, but I've seen them, or I've heard that they are in other places as well. And this was a fun like stitching experiment for myself, because I took a highly variegated weeks. It's called Bethlehem, and you could see the blue, purple, green, like that swirly thing there. And then I took a solid color, a green or a blue or a purple, and just how the highly variegated one just shows up differently based on the threads that surround it. That said, these are basically designs that are two colors. You can stitch it with any two colors you want. And they are small. They should have been organized a little bit more, but that's okay. These guys are 49 by 49, each of them. And then the last one, as a reminder to share about, is the Night Garden collaboration. This is the third time that this project has happened, and I just think it's so cool. A number of designers, it was like 23, 24 of us, got the same 4 threads. This year, it was through Threadworks, and were instructed to create a design using only those 4 threads, 60 by 60 inches maximum, and the theme was Night Garden, however you want to interpret that. And at Nashville, a number of us that were there, we got together for a picture. We're all holding our models, and then we put the models on the table to take a picture of, maybe there were 16 or so of them in that picture. And it's just so cool to see the variety. So this was mine. It's called a Night Blooming Cereus, which is a flower that blooms only at night. I will put a link below, hopefully I remember, to the website that has shows all the designs. If you want to see them all in one place, and then you can, if you some you want to purchase. So there's a Facebook group, X Stitch the Rainbow Stitch Along. I saw someone who's if I'm interpreting their post correctly, it seems like they're going to do most, if not all of them, potentially on one big piece of fabric, which I think would be amazing. I mean, that's just obviously like any design, some you're going to love, some maybe not so much. But if she or he follows through with it, that would just be amazing. But anyway, any of the ones that you are interested in, because they use all the same 4 threads, thread packs are available. And the Threadworks threads come in 20-yard skeins, like 6 strands, 20-yard skeins. You can stitch a lot of those projects. I don't know, all of them? I don't know. With one thread pack. And you could just get the thread pack because you love the colors. So that is my brief roundup or review of my new for Nashville designs. Let me just talk a little bit more about some other things that came up at Nashville. First of all, and I've shared this in the past, at every stitching event, starting at the first retreat I put on in 2018. So when I say stitching event, I'm basically talking retreats or Nashville. I like to get a souvenir pair of scissors. I know I'm not the only one that does something like this. And we're not talking like some fancy Dovo or anything. We're talking, little cheapo kind that a lot of stores just keep at their registers. And then something that works or counts as a scissor fob. And that's a little souvenir of Nashville. So this year I was able to purchase just a basic simple pair of scissors. And then the fob that I created for myself is made up of, I should have done this in a different order. Well, in a moment, let me pause here. I'll show you talk more about where the stuff that this is made up of in a moment. You'll figure out what I'm about to say. I wanted to show, no, I'll save that. So it is a wholesale market. Stores are there to purchase, but you may be seeing or hearing about people who've bought things at Nashville. And you might say, well, they don't own a store and they just bought that one copy of something or whatever. And just so that you know, it is okay, particularly on the Sunday, the last day of the show, to go around and do some personal purchases. Now, not every designer will give you a wholesale price. I suppose there's some that might not sell, but for the most part, somebody comes to me, especially on Sunday, and I still have a copy of a pattern, and they're like, can I get a copy of that? I'm like, sure, one less pattern I'm bringing home. So I know there's some people that love who attending either as exhibitor or helpers to either the stores or the exhibitors who are like, woohoo, I'm going to get some cool stuff. And they do. I'm not a shopper like that. And if you are familiar with my stuff, I mean, I'm just not in general buying other cross-stitch patterns to stitch. We'll talk about some other stitching in a minute. So I was not on a mission to find new things, new patterns, new designs to stitch. My priority when I was able to leave my room, which was not for long, is to connect with the thread companies and fabric companies and the ones, to have a good business relationship with. Weeks, let me start with Weeks, is always happy to give their new threads to designers to say, hey, please use these. And so if you have not yet seen them in a video or a post or something, they had 5 new threads. This one is olive branch, so it's a green. This one is pickled okra, so it's more greener than this one. This is more of a dullish green. This is more of a fall green? I don't know what you would describe it. This is chantilly, it's white with definite yellowish tones to it. We have liquid gold, so a good gold color. And then the one I like the best is acai, that's how you pronounce it, berry. So it's a nice variegated, dark, reddish, burgundy-ish, purple-ish. So I was able to make the connection at Weeks and chat a little bit with the folks there. They always, to see all the threads and fabric in one place is very cool. And they very much support designers, which is very much appreciated. On the same vein is Gentle Arts. I also love when I can make the connections with them. They were giving this little pouch out to stores. So there's a couple of pencils, there's a little ruler, there's an eraser, sort of all those kind of like goodies. Oh, and a little sharpener. But what's also in here is their new threads. So their new threads this year, they usually have, do I not have it in here? I thought they usually have, wait, did I put it somewhere else? I was going to say, wait, hold on. I think I'm missing something here. In addition to cotton, they do a wool, if you were not familiar with that. And I thought, yeah, I don't know where that one went. I ended up getting 2 of these bags for silly reasons, but fine. I got to figure out what I did with it. So anyway, pouch I opened. Their new wool is called called Toffee. But their new cottons, we have key lime, a very bright green, very spring green. We have cerulean, which is like a turquoisey blue. We have eggplant, which looks kind of like, it almost looks like a black or an off black. There's definitely some purple tones to it, but it's a dark purplish black. And then chestnut, a good brown there. So I was glad to pick up those and have a couple of good conversations with the gentle arts people. I also, and I don't know why, but I don't think I've actually gone literally next door to me is the Gloriana ladies. And it's just, I can't tell you why, but I just haven't, to my memory, have ever been next door. And so I had this great conversation. We're talking about their different types of threads. Their silk floss, was obviously the biggest thing they were selling there, but it is not the only thing. They are the people that put out Tudor silks. And I know there are some people, particularly those who stitch like on really high counts, that the Tudor silk is very, very fine. And I said to them, I know I have like one package of Tudor silk somewhere, but I would love to play with it on some other different levels. And so they gave me this, which was great. I was curious in the conversation about the difference between their different types of threads. This one is also a silk. If I'm interpreting correctly, this is the equivalent of the 103s that people that come on a spool. I know this one basically looks white, but they also have it in all their variegated colors. I'd wanted to explore it for a particular reason that may or may not happen in the future. I also had the conversation with forgive me, I don't know names at this point, about my little designs with using a highly variegated weeks and then playing with it. And I'm like, let me see what highly variegated ones I could come up with next door. And so I picked up these 2. This one, as it turns out, is like, in effect, the same colors, just a more muted tone. You can see the purple, the blue, the green. And then this one is the colors that don't necessarily sing to me, but maybe it's because of that very reason that I might try and do something with them. So we'll see. These are silks, did I say it already? I also wanted to pick up some solids, or relatively solid. I mean, they have some beautiful variegation. So I picked up, names. Huh. This one is called Peacock. And this is Arnhem Heath, Arnhem. I picked up African Violet Dark, which is a beautiful, like, bluish purple, purplish blue. Bluish purple, I'll say. Daffodil. And Purple Fred. I wonder if there's a green Fred and a blue Fred and a yellow Fred, or if there's a Purple Nancy and Purple Carol, and I don't know. It's kind of curious. Again, I love this kind of variegation. Some, but not highly variegated. So back to my little souvenir scissors. The fob I made, there's the purple that came from Gloriana. Here is the yellow one of Weeks, this little braid, and this is the cerulean of Gentle Arts. These little charms I picked up. As I said, I do so little purchasing. No, I purchased a pair of scissors. I found what's it called? By Jupiter. They sell lots of charms, and if I was putting together, let's say, a design and including a charm, that would be a place to get them from. So I picked up a few. There's two of them that are cross stitch themed. There we go. I love cross stitching and that little thing. And then this was just like a little geometric thing because there wasn't a third cross stitch one. So I picked up these. And then the only other purchase I made, and again, I know this is so unusual for a lot of other people that have attended Nashville and especially specifically doing Flosstube videos. I saw in ahead of the market that there was a store, Sassy Jack's store, which also has, and I forget what name design, they're now designing, I don't know how long they've been designing. They were exhibiting this year as designers, as well, I'm sure, as shopping for their store. But they are now distributing books from Yvette Stanton. She is in Australia and does all kinds of, I'll say, unique needlework styles. I have, where do I keep them? On that, yeah, over there somewhere. Are all my Yvette Stanton books. No, wait, hold on. That's the wrong side. Sorry. Nope. Over here. Where am I? There we go. These are more of my, over there are my lace books. Here's my needlework books. So over, right about there. I own most of her books. And have just acquired them over the years. There's some that I've stitched projects from. There are different styles of needlework. There's a Ukrainian style. There's a Portuguese. They're there. Okay, you can look her up. Maybe I'll link her to her website. But they're in Australia, and there's different ways to acquire them, and I forget exactly how I've acquired them over the years. But when I saw that there was a store that was selling them or distributing them now, I wanted to pick up, in effect, the last two books that I didn't own. I could only get one of them. The other one, they are actually not distributing, and I don't remember the whole story. But this one is not actually, this is one of our early books. This is not one of the needlework styles. This is the Right-Handed Embroiderer's Companion. All different stitches, all kinds of like really well-written instructions and diagrams. This will be a reference book. There is a left-handed embroidery companion. She, if I remember correctly, is left-handed. So she had put out that book first, and then of course there was lots of people saying, well, we don't want, 2010 is when this was first published. So she did do a right-handed companion, embroiderer's companion. So, I mean, that's my Nashville there. It was a wonderful, one last thing. Where'd it go? Here we go. It was a wonderful show this year on so many levels. It was good to see people that, you don't see more than once a year. It was great to have interaction with store owners. I think a lot of us, I'll speak for myself, I design in my own little sphere. And yes, I have these little moments of interactions, but to really have a whole weekend of interacting with store owners and to hear feedback, whether they're, oh, Arlene, we sell your stuff and we love it, or whether I'm walking in for the first time, show me what you got. It's just wonderful. The friend who usually comes with me had to unfortunately cancel last minute. Life happens. And there were some folks who helped out in last minute ways immensely. Particular shout out to Brittany. She is the designer behind Ingleside Imaginarium. She's moved away from cross-stitch design. She exhibited at Nashville a couple of years, but she's been moving into all kinds of creative mosaics and sequins and all kinds of stuff that she does right now, her focus. She's on Instagram as in Ingleside Imaginarium, but she's also Stitch and Sparkle or something like that. One of the creative endeavors she has involves commissions and stuff related to a chain stitch machine that she has, which I think is like one of those old, don't exist, but you buy one and you love it and you keep it going kind of thing. And just total freehand. She made this, and it's my logo. She just freehanded did this, and I actually bought a little frame that I was going to put it in, and I'm sitting down getting ready this video. I'm like, ugh, I didn't do it, and I need a piece of like scrapbook paper to put it, and like, all right, I'll just show it like this. But she is so sweet that she did that for me, and I very much appreciate her help, as well as help from some others at various times during the weekend. So here you go. That's my Nashville. Let me launch into a little bit of other needlework sharing, because I know I purposely didn't talk about any of this during my last video, because that was just focused on Nashville. Around January or so, and this happened last year too, I hit the point where all my cross-stitch models for Nashville are done. And I'm losing a little bit of interest, is too strong of a word, but I'm losing a little bit of my focus on cross-stitching. And I have always stitched all types. My initial start in stitching world back when I was in high school was cross-stitch, yes. But I've expanded to so many different types, hence, nope, over here. Hence, different books that I have, different things that hang on my walls here at home. And so now I'm trying to remember what order. Anyway, I have 3 different things to show you, and none of them are cross-stitch. Let me do this one first, because this one is my own design, and I finished it just last night. You know what, now that I think about it, that was another little bit of the putting off of this video. I'm like, oh, let me see if I can finish that. And then I have a finish to share, which is so rare. So this is a black work design that I created, and it's based off of I don't have the details written out here. It's like a book from 1897 or something that involved rugs, and I'll have it all written up when I'm ready to release it. I don't have a name for it yet. If you have any suggestions, I would love it. Oops. I don't have a release date yet. It's just I enjoyed doing a black work design. And it is stitched on Strawberry Latte from Grace Notes Fabric, right there. And it is, for me, just the right level of modeling. It's not showing up very well. It's definitely got a pinky, like a rose color, not pink, but like a rose color to it. And just DMC 310. So here's an example of black work. If you have not seen it before or unfamiliar with it, simply put, if you are a cross stitcher and you know about back stitching, that back stitching creates black work. So there's different types, there's different ways to do this, but basically think the straight stitches that you do when you're back stitching is what I created, or what I used to create this design. The next 2 are not my own designs, but are both kind of a little bit of long-term projects. I have often shared, truthfully, that I am mostly a one project at a time kind of person. Mostly, okay? But I do have these 2 now. It was 1, but now it's 2 things, needlework projects that I'll do in little bits. And the first one is a goldwork piece. So this is a goldwork sampler, and I had purchased the kit because there's a lot of new threads when it comes to goldwork. And I know I've shown this in the past, and I don't remember how far. So I had stitched, this was the first motif. This is even the way they're pre-printed on this fabric that I had purchased. I did this motif first. That was the one that was listed first. And then I went to this motif, and I sort of hit a wall about halfway through, and I know I explained it in one video. So I'd stopped, I put it away. But it was one of those things that I knew when the timing was right, I would take it out again. And when I took it out, all the reasons that I had stopped still existed, but they didn't frustrate me as much. And so I finished it off. I'm like, you know what? Let me keep going. So I jumped to the next one. And I admit, I've kind of hit that wall again. So this one that I'm working on right now, which, it's a learning curve. And, this is not going to like any goldwork competition or anything. Goldwork has some very specific and unique types of threads and ways that you use them. And so I'm struggling to do this so that I like the way it looks, and it's very nitpicky because you do this one little piece at a time, and either you cut it too big or too small. And I was thinking, when I come back from Nashville, I'm going to power through and finish off this motif. And I decided like 2 or 3 days ago, you know what? If I'm not enjoying it, I'm going to stop. I'm not throwing it away or anything. It's just like when I hit the wall with this. So it'll all get packed away, and at some point, it'll be the right moment to take it back out. And just to give you a sense when I say how different threads are, these are 3 of the types of threads that are used just in that motif. So I don't want to take this all out, but it's almost like a little slinky kind of thing. And then this one is a little bit more of rough cut kind of thing. This one is another kind of slinky kind, but this is more of a muted, whereas this one's shinier. You could get a gold workbook. I got a bunch of them. And just see how many different types of very specialized threads there are. And the reason I years ago had purchased the kit that was not cheap, because of these threads are very unique out there, was because I wanted to experience it. And so I'm getting my opportunity in a slow but steady kind of way. So I worked on that for a little bit in like February or so. And again, I will, after this video, I'll put it away, and at some point it'll be the right moment to take it out again. And so then I think in January, and this was before the black work is, of the three things I'm showing you, is the newest one. And like I said, I just finished it last night. When I, again, hit that point in January where cross stitch needed to take a break, I knew I had the gold work piece, which is not a good piece to sit in the evenings in front of the televisions. Like for me, it's like impossible to do it that way. It has to be, I do it up here where I have a table. Maybe during the day I put on YouTube or something like that. But what I did start stitching on downstairs was an embroidery project. So this design, I'm holding it the way that, so you can see it's different types of stitches, but embroidery in its truest definition is not stitched on a counted fabric. You know, if you think about linen, even weave, Aida, it's all like threads that you can easily count. But if you look at, I don't know, the fabric of your clothing or like a quilting fabric, you don't really count the threads. So you're just, simply put, you're using a sharp needle as opposed to like a blunt needle, because you need to pierce through this fabric. I had seen this somewhere, I'm sure it was on Instagram somewhere, and purchased a kit, or I love that it wasn't a full kit, because it just uses DMC. So I'm like, perfect. I don't have to deal with the step, because it is a step, of how you transfer the design, because I'm purchasing something that comes with the fabric with the design already transferred. But then I'm not spending the money for the threads because it's all DMC. So this is a very poor picture, as they always are, rosework embroidery designs. This is called Cascade. If you are interested in embroidery, again, you're playing with a lot of different types of stitches. I'll give you the heads up, the instructions are not the best. So I'm doing a lot of like, I think I'll do it this way kind of things. And even just the number of colors that are used, those leaves, like there's a lot of different greens. Could they have all been, one or two? Sure, maybe. Anyway, the pattern for this, let me hold it up, is actually broken into 4 parts. And so as I completed, and I think I can show you my thing here. There's where I broke it up, or it was broken up and I just put in the lines for it. I had finished that first section A, and I was like, you know what, this is the perfect time to pause. Because again, I knew that this would be a project that it'd be highly unlikely, like the gold work, to do from beginning to end in my typical one project at a time kind of way. So this will come back out again. And I really like the colors, how it's playing out, all DMC. All right, I lost my little list. Seriously, it's now buried somewhere. But hopefully, I've covered everything that was on the little list. I have no idea where that piece of paper went. And found it. Did I say everything? Yes, I did. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you have supported me through Nashville, and when I say that, I'm talking about purchasing from a store, something that they purchased from me at Nashville. Thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed the bits that I have to share here at Flosstube. I say it every single time. There are so many Flosstubers to watch, so many different types of approaches to the idea of sharing their stitching world, and I so appreciate you've taken the time to hang out with me for this afternoon. Well, it's afternoon for me. Happy spring, or if you're on the other side, happy fall. You take care. Till next time. Bye.